Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video. Myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a US political update. I haven't done an explicitly US political update for a long time. I kind of drop nuggets in here and there, but I've got quite a backlog of things to talk about, and I'm not even doing 50% of what I have. So hopefully there is a bit of a narrative that goes to these, and some of these nuggets are some weeks old, I have to say, but it all gives us a sense of what's going on in the United States. I've done many videos on what I think is the democratic backsliding and the advance towards actual fascism. And I've defined the term and looked at the different tenets and different pillars, indeed, upon which fascism is built, if you like. And yeah, I really do see that is what is happening in the United States, and Donald Trump is continuing that journey with much of what he is doing at the moment. And we're going to start by looking at whether what he is doing is indeed popular or not. I mean, he seems to think he is popular. So let's get into it. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, that would be absolutely fantastic if you could do so. Would really appreciate that. Thank you. Right. Okay. Let's get to the sources. Okay. We're going to start with this source that says, Jesus tap dancing Christ. This fairy tale reads like a meth-fueled bedtime story for fascists. Fat Caligula is polling at historically low numbers, gutting America, and still double jerk off dancing through the absolute worst shite show of a presidency in history. Something of an imbecile, he says, with more swear words than I care to repeat. Right, okay. People who are critical of Trump see what he's doing as just absolutely insane. And people who aren't, I would suggest, would largely be going either through cognitive dissonance and having this tension between their core beliefs that Trump is awesome and they voted for the right guy, and evidence that what he's doing is not what you'd expect for this awesome president, or it is exactly what they want, right? And there are a number of people who think the really officious way that Trump is ruling is this authoritarian regime, is exactly what they want. But the problem is you are going to have only a very small sector of the electorate who would happily believe that is the case. For many other voters, it's going to be a case of cognitive dissonance, and they will then go through the psychological process of cognitive dissonance reduction to try and get rid of that dissonance. So how do we sell ourselves that my vote was a sensible vote and it's all going well, thank you very much? But then you're going to be just losing a lot of voters who either voted for Trump because they were low information voters, didn't have a lot riding on the election, or thought Trump was a funny guy, or thought he was going to do the right thing here, or I'm a moderate, or I'm independent, or I'm not registered, or I've switched from the Democrats. And it seems that quite a few of these people are sort of recognizing that Trump is not doing a particularly good job when we look at the polls. So we come to that in a second. But what this source reacts to is Trump's just quite incredible self-deception. So he says, Donald Trump on Truth Social, after winning 3 elections by a lot, and by the way, he didn't win 3 elections, he won 2 of them, and they weren't by a lot. He lost the first election, the public vote, against Hillary Clinton. She actually won the public vote. He won the Electoral College, so that wasn't by a lot. And the election win against Kamala Harris was one of the smallest, on record type thing. It was just, so that's not true. And he didn't win the one in between against Biden. So the guy's deluded, right? So after winning 3 elections by a lot, I am now getting the best polling numbers that I've ever received. It's just, I mean, even if you did think he was getting good polling numbers, which I don't know how you can think that, because no pollsters are really saying that. I mean, you could think that among Republicans, he's still fairly buoyant, but it's not the best. It's certainly not the best. There's no way that you could even be charitable to Trump and allow him to get away with saying something like that. It is not true. So we get back to something I was talking about like a good long time ago. So how have we arrived at this point in time where the American president can just so obviously lie to the general public and no one bats an eyelid. It's just like, oh, so used to it, it's just Trump. Just the truth means nothing. Anyway, he continues, people see how strong the economy is. They don't. The trillions of dollars of investment pouring into our country. They're not. The record-setting strong border after years of millions of criminals pouring through it, totally unvetted and unchecked. And that's a bastardization of the truth. Although he has been strong on the border by, effectively shutting it down and whatnot. Ending 8 wars in 8 months. He's not done that. No men playing in women's sport. What are you talking about? No transgender for everyone. What does that even mean? Rapidly falling energy prices. Well, I mean, there's a lot to do with what's going on globally with regard to the energy prices. That's not you can't dictate energy prices. We're not living under price control, centralized price control. So that's you can maybe have an effect to some degree by putting some pressure on companies to produce more hydrocarbons, but actually you've closed down both a solar plant and a wind plant that would have added to the energy production of the United States, and now that's not the case. So actually that would have pushed prices slightly higher than they otherwise would have been. But essentially OPEC Plus are really pumping out the oil at the moment to try and overcome Russia's shortfalls and so on and so forth. So, this isn't something you are responsible for. Anyway, and much more, he says. Despite all of this, the radical left losers are taking fake ads, not showing real polls, but rather saying that I'm polling at low levels. These are the people that I've been beating for years, and I'm continuing to do so, but by even bigger margins. Well, of course, again, that is completely false. So all the special elections at the moment have shown a massive not over representation, but the Democrat vote has done much better than they were expecting. These ads there's been a really significant swing towards the Democrat vote in all of the special elections. Even in the ones where the Democrats haven't won, they have done much better than you would have otherwise expected. And in areas where they've won by massive margins. These, or in many cases, these ads should not be allowed to run because they are fake. Okay. Anyway. And this is coming, by the way, from 29th of October. So it's a few days out of date. But nonetheless, Donald Trump's horrific approval ratings by age per the latest Economist and YouGov poll. So we have 18 to 29-year-olds, 20% approved, 75% disapprove. It's a negative 55. It's a negative 55 net rating between 18 to 20 for 18 to 29-year-olds. 30 to 44-year-olds, 37 approved, 57 disapprove, 57%. So that is a negative 20. 45 to 64, 49, 49. So even Stevens for that age group. And then 65 plus, 43 approve, 55% disapprove. So actually a negative 12 there for that age range. So the only age group in which he is doing okay, in other words, not underwater, is 45 to 64. Overall, 39% approve and 58% disapprove. So that is a negative 19 percentage point disapproval rate there, which is an absolute shocker. So that 39% approve, I mean, he's just doing tremendously bad. His worst point in compared no president at this point in their presidency is doing as bad in the disapproval ratings, and he's now beating how he was doing in Trump 1.0, I think. So the second worst was him in Trump 1.0. And that's why, of course, he didn't get voted in when he ran against Biden, because everyone realized, oh my God, what we voted for, this is terrible. And then in the 4 years of Biden and the pandemic, it was a very long 4 years and people forgot. And he had young people and Latinos and young men and whatnot, just to some degree getting sucked in by the Trump rhetoric and the fear mongering on immigration and transgender and all this kind of stuff. And now people, I think, might be thinking, or some people at least, oh, what have we done? Have we done the same thing again? Oh my goodness, how short our memories are. Let's go to Rick Wilson and his son, Andrew Wilson. He's from the Lincoln Project. Rick Wilson, former sort of Republican, now not a fan of Donald Trump, looking at the stats.
So demographic approval, the things to notice here, the fact that he's underwater with men is pretty shocking. Trump has been consistently strong with men his entire political career, the last 10 years.
Last decade.
That's been one of his foundational demographics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised to see him underwater with men. But, this just goes to show that, his economic policy is universally hurting people.
Yeah.
I do not see, he might be able to recover somewhat in an election in 2026.
Just to give you an idea of what's going on the screen here. So you've got a 0 there, which is neither disapprove or approve. And in general, white people, it's just a tad below 0. So overall, white people disapprove, but only marginally. And then you've got different age groups. So for this particular poll, this is not the same as the Economist YouGov. Actually, the 45 to 64 isn't on the 0 line. It's below it. Males are below now. Females are well below. Under 30s, really well below. Hispanics, considering Trump had done quite well with the Hispanics, was looking at doing much better with his Hispanics and black people than previously would have been thought, and now he's absolutely tanking with them. Black people are really far down here at the bottom, and post-grad, so the more educated you are, the less you approve of Donald Trump, as you can see here. But basically, post-grad, college grad, some college, and then high school or less. So but even all in all of these groups, he's underwater to some degree. These are bad results, and what they talk about a little bit in this is that actually he squandered what goodwill he was getting from some of these demographics, and that is really fumbling the ball there. But then for him, I don't think he particularly cares. He's in power because, well, I don't think it's even him. As I've told you before, I think the White House is being run by the Heritage Foundation. So they're just like, let's get as much crazy stuff done that we would never otherwise be able to do by using executive orders. We're not going to defer at all to Congress if we can, because we can't trust them to pass any legislation. So we're just going to smash through this stuff by executive order and get stuff done kind of unilaterally using the unified executive theory, where we're just trying to concentrate power into the White House and act like effectively a dictatorship, because then we can deliver as much as the Heritage Foundation Project 2025 agenda as we possibly can. And that's the best way of doing it. And to hell with any of these demographics, let's just go crazy and see if we can hold on to power, not through democratic means, because we know we're going to tank now in the elections. So we need to rig the elections. We need to gerrymander the heck out of as many states, as many districts as possible. But as I think Rick Wilson comes on to say, that even if the states are properly gerrymandered and the Democrats lose, I don't know, net loss of say 19 seats, the way the polls are going at the moment, it's a long time till November next year, it's 1 year obviously, but at the moment you'll be looking at a net loss of 35 seats, and that's pretty desperate for the Republicans
on this with some of these demographics. But look at Hispanics. That's a demographic that pulled him over the line in several states, and that Republicans are now predicating their 2026 campaigns on.
Sure.
And he is deep underwater with Hispanic voters.
And as you and I have talked about on this show and talked about separately, and as Mike Madrid has laid out the case very clearly, every gain Trump had and Republicans had with Hispanic voters is not only gone, but it's reversed direction hard in the other direction. And every gain that he had with black voters is gone, and it's reversed in the other direction. Black men now have a Trump approval of under 10%. This is the greatest squandering of a political advantage that I've ever seen in my career. I mean, by far.
I don't know if Republicans are. I'm sure they're panicking, right? Like they have to be at this point. If you can't recover at least a few points with black voters and Hispanic voters, it's doom and gloom for Republican midterm hopes.
Again, I'm telling you, I think you could be looking at a 35 seat loss if these numbers hold up, if the economy does not improve, if you end up in with inflation still being the number one issue and being the issue in which Donald Trump is underwater by 32, 33 points. I mean,
so this is the most important issues.
Yeah.
The economy is clearly ticking up and up and up. You look at 2022, Biden's middle of Biden's presidency, it spiked massively because of the inflation crisis. We are going far beyond that. I think to go back to the demographics here, what Black and Hispanic voters care about, and what they say they care about, is the economy. It's universal with most demographics, but especially with those particular demographics, they were suffering in the Biden economy, and Trump is making it a lot worse.
So, Andrew, let me ask you this question, because I think this is an interesting point. Let's go back to that prior slide, Sam. Immigration here is showing at about 8% on this chart. And I'm curious about your thoughts. Is this play on immigration, has it reached the point where they're playing to the most incredibly narrow base to try to hold on to that 20% of Republicans who are driven by like pure racial animus and hatred? Is that the whole ball game here for them? Because they seem to me to be putting themselves in a very perilous situation on immigration. And I think it's also, maybe, I want to get your thoughts on this, a cautionary note for Democrats too on the.
So, and I'm going to leave it there with them, but that's kind of one of the most important questions here, which is that are the Republicans really doubling down on immigration to the point where they're snatching people off the street still with ICE, and that is even becoming unpopular with many people that otherwise saw it as very popular, and they're trying to fool people the economy, but the economy's stupid, right? The idea is that the economy, if you sort the economy out, then you win the election. If everyone's feeling good about money in their pocket and the cost of living, then you can deal with everything else pretty much. And at the moment, the economy is looking precarious given inflation and given tariffs and trade wars. And Trump sort of starting these trade wars with everyone, then blinking, then looking weak, and then still not doing things that are going to immediately benefit the economy. But then going to town on immigration. But then immigration is only worth, as you can see here, just above my head there, is only worth about 8%. In terms of that. There are 8% of people who think immigration is the most important issue. It doesn't mean that they don't think it's an important issue if they put, say, the economy up there first. But you get my point. And I think from Rick Wilson there, there's a really interesting question. Now, we go to look at the economy from a macro point of view. I mean, Doge came along, Elon Musk, and did the square root of NAFL. Doge was possibly the biggest scam and damage in the US government history, says Anders Esland. Trump and Musk should be held accountable. Musk for the benefits he extracted for his companies and the damage he caused the US federal government. Trump for all of that and his private enrichment. And we're going to return to Musk a little bit later. But yeah, Elon Musk's Doge was a massive scam that failed to reduce US public debt, but succeeded in undermining institutions Musk wanted to hurt, while giving Musk levels of access and power that should never be granted to someone like him. As we hear now that the US hits $38 trillion in debt after the fastest accumulation of $1 trillion of debt outside of the pandemic. So, okay, the pandemic raised debt levels really significantly, and you can understand why, because they had to do massive expenditure to stop the pandemic ripping through the nation and destroying it economically and socially and in terms of human lives, right? So we understand the debt raising there at least to some degree. But outside of the pandemic, this is the fastest accumulation of debt in to the tune of $1 trillion in history. And my goodness, like the big beautiful bill has, I mean, it's looking like being an absolute catastrophe for the American debt, for the debt ceiling that's been raised. And then it's just, it appears that Republicans aren't too concerned about being seen to be responsible with the budget as previously you would have thought they were. Politico here, just how much has Doge exaggerated its numbers? Now we have receipts. So this is actually going back to August, by the way. A Politico analysis of Doge data reveals the organization saved less than 5% of its claimed savings from nearly 10,100 contract terminations. Quote, Trump's claim of saving billions through Doge-related cuts to federal contracts is drastically exaggerated. Doge said it saved taxpayers $52.8 billion, but it was closer to $1.4 billion. Remember, it started off with, was it 2 trillion? And they were going to save 2 trillion. Then it was 1 trillion. Then it was 500 billion. Then it was blah, 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 blah. And in the end, it was, it was, I think, was it 250 billion was the last thing he claimed he was going to save? 1.4 billion. That's how much of a failure of it was. And yet, they terminated all sorts of people's contracts. Now, it was all, in my opinion, about getting data out of the government for his AI. I really think that was it, and just destroying the government. And now you've got NASA being gutted, and Musk is going to make a handsome profit out of some big contracts with the US government. And it's just all about everyone enriching themselves on account of the taxpayer. Now, the government has shut down, and they are fighting at the moment over healthcare provision. And it looks like, according to the data, and again, they go on and talk about that in that Lincoln Square video, that actually the data has shown that independents are increasingly blaming the government, i.e. blaming the Republicans for the shutdown. So even on the shutdown, the Republicans are losing the battle of the narrative, and they are losing popularity. And that itself is significant. Anyway, it's worth popping in to see a bit of Lisa Murkowski. So she's the Alaska senator, Republican senator, who's... Okay, she has ended up being the deciding vote for the Republicans, supporting the Republicans in some of the really important votes. In fact, was it not her with a big, beautiful bill as well? But anyway, she is otherwise a little bit critical of Trump, should we say. And here is a really candid set of statements about negotiations between Democrats and Republicans over reopening government.
Understand why Democrats are hesitant?
Oh, sure I do. I mean, I look at that and I say, I see it. This is where I spoke out very strongly. Not only did the administration do it, but then they didn't give, they set it up in such a way that our hands were tied in being able to respond. So we're stuck with it. The appropriations process is being run over, and that to me is absolutely unacceptable. I think it's important that there still be good faith discussions between Republicans and Democrats about how we get out of this.
Understand why Democrats are hesitant?
So essentially, she was saying there that that the Republicans are essentially refusing to. They set it up in such a way that our hands were being tied. We were unable to respond. So, in other words, the Republicans are not interested in negotiating with the Democrats. Lisa Murkowski says Trump won't let Republicans negotiate with the Democrats. So whose fault it is? Well, if the Republicans are refusing to negotiate, even to sit down and talk about it, then I don't know. I think you could quite successfully put more blame on the Republicans for that. Now, all the while, so many crazy things have been happening that kind of break the norms and rules and indeed laws. So here we're talking about the violation of the Hatch Act. Now, many of you will have known that this happened, but for those who don't, this is going back to October the 11th. So when the government shutdown happened and airports were put under pressure and some airports closed or didn't have the fully functioning services, they put videos, or at least the Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, did a video that blamed the Democrats.
I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay. We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government. I'm Christina.
So she put that video, or at least asked that video was played at every single airport, blaming the Democrats, which is a breaking of the Hatch Act, illegally using taxpayer money for political propaganda. So this is taxpayer-funded videos being put in the airports of the United States, slagging off the Democrats and blaming them for the shutdown. No, Jem Suroviecki says I know no one cares, but it is breaking the Hatch Act. You shouldn't be doing this. Anyway, some airports didn't run it, by the way, which is kind of good, but just the sort of thing that the present government sees no problem in doing. Now, I've already shown you some of this, but it's worth seeing. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not infrequently at the moment being correct on at least some things, which is pretty novel for her, and it's pretty amazing that I would be nodding in agreement. This is her on a government shutdown a few weeks back.
New Washington Post poll. It shows that 47% of Americans believe that President Trump and the Republicans are mainly responsible for the shutdown. You see it here on the screen, compared to just 30% of Americans who blame Democrats. Of course, Republicans are the ones with the power. Do you agree with Americans in that poll that see the shutdown as your party's fault?
You know what? I don't think the shutdown is popular for either side. And so I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
Yes. But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party?
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. But what we have to do is we have to work for the American people. And our country is so divided right now. We see it all the time in every single way. It's divided in what I would say very dangerous ways. And we saw that with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, which has upset so many people across the board. And look, when it comes to hearing from senior citizens or my own friends and neighbors and my own family members and people that voted for me, and they're just saying, Marjorie, we just really want somebody to do something about health insurance premiums. We really want our government and our leaders to actually focus on our country for a change and fix our problems. That is the message I constantly hear from my district, and I'm a representative. I don't have to be a cheerleader for my party. I have to represent my district because those are the people that hired me and sent me here. And I agree with them, and I'm pretty much over it's just drama constantly on TV. No offense, because you guys are on television, but that's all that we see in American politics now.
I'm for almost all of that, I'm kind of nodding my head like absolutely, and she kind of gets the drama, yet she's so often the one right in the middle of it and reveling in it. But that analysis is really, really on point. Now, I wonder if her family members weren't suffering with insurance premium hikes, whether she would be saying the same. But yeah. And then how much of it also is down to the Epstein files as well. We know that the government shutdown comes at a time when they were just about to swear in the Arizona 7th District newly voted in Democrat who would have pushed the voting for the bill to expose or to publish the Epstein files. She would have been, is it Grijalva? She would have been the one to have pushed that over the edge to have those files published. And the government shutdown stopped that. And Mike Johnson has said that he will not swear her in. She's now taking Mike Johnson to court. And it looks like it's just a way of stopping the the Epstein files coming to the fore.
Is the Jeffrey Epstein files, wanting to release those. I know Democrats have also been calling for that, a few other Republicans as well. The Democrats are accusing Speaker Johnson of delaying the swearing in of Arizona's Democratic Congresswoman-elect because she would give the last vote needed to release those Epstein files. I'm wondering, the Speaker, for his part, he has denied that. He said it's because of the shutdown. Have you spoken to him? Do you think she should be sworn in right away?
Well, I'll say it like this. I can't conclusively say if that's why the House is not in session, but the House should be in session. And the House should be in session for many reasons. We have appropriation bills that need to get passed. There is a new Democrat that's been elected that does deserve to be sworn in. Her district elected her. We have other bills that we need to be passing. And if it's to avoid the discharge petition, why drag this out? That is going to have 218 signatures. And so I say go ahead and do it and get it over with.
And there you go. So it could well be all to do with the discharge petition and the Epstein files. Okay. And then we have this situation whereby, and I think I've got some more of this later. No, anyway, so we have this situation where the government is shut down, people aren't getting paid, government employees aren't getting paid, including many in the armed services. And then we find out that Timothy Mellon, a billionaire and major financial backer of Trump, is this anonymous private donor you may have heard of, who gave $130 million to the US government to help pay troops during a shutdown, according to two people familiar with the matter. And what's interesting here is that, first of all, $130 million actually doesn't go very far at all. It pays for, like, I don't know, half a day or so. It isn't like, it sounds like a massive amount of money, but in terms of the budget for the armed forces of the United States, it's relatively small. So what's going on here? Like, is this guy really concerned about the armed forces not getting paid, or is this a way of paying money to Trump in order to get, there's a quid pro quo here. Here's a quid. What's the quo? Like, here's this. I'm giving it to you for that. Here's a thought, says this source. If these billionaires can so easily throw 130 million at our armed forces, how about we actually tax them at the 91% rate we used to in the 50s? After all, tax dollars is legal, and tax is legal, and maybe then we can get back to having a middle class and a working government. It's a really interesting point. It's like, if he can just throw his money around like that, if he can pay $130 million for the wages of people in the armed forces just like that. Oh, there's 130 million. Maybe we can actually tax them a little bit more. And maybe these massive billionaires in the political donor class who are paying lots of money so that they don't get taxed, maybe they should get taxed. Just absolutely incredible, because you could see this as just a form of tax. Actually, he's now paid $130 million extra in tax, except it's not just a tax, because he will expect something in return. This is legal corruption. This is lobbying, essentially. He's just lobbied the government for $130 million. What is Timothy Mellon going to get from the government? Now, the government shutdown means that there is going to be no extension to the SNAP benefits. These are food stamps. This is how people in the working class who can't afford food can get food, and they take their SNAP benefits and they can go to Walmart and different, Target, and get their food. And there's so much to say about this. So first of all, this is going to lose an awful lot of support, I think, for the Republicans. If we can trust the polls, in more people are going to blame the Republicans, then they're going to lose a lot of support in the working class, or at least they should do. But just more than that, the human cost of not having people have food for their families, the reliance on food banks then. But actually, it's worse than that. So what happens is places like Target and all these shops that receive the SNAP benefits effectively, that's where they spend that money. They're not going to see that expenditure. And so you're going to get some complaints, I think, from the commercial sector, but also the farming sector. So the farming sector has already been hit by the trade war. And now we understand that SNAP is going to kind of run out during the government shutdown, and that will lead there to be big surpluses, because a lot of the SNAP benefits go to, you can get, like, as far as I understand it, like, the farmers tap into this funding in order to produce like food through schools, or for poorer people in the community and whatnot. And so this is very much linked with the farmers as well, and their contracts. And this could well be incredibly controversial for the sector of support for Trump that has previously been so loyal, but has now been done over in the beef crisis, with Trump saying that he's going to buy beef in from Argentina when they've already supported Argentina to the tune of 40 billion, and that is helping to support the soybean farmers in Argentina ahead of his own soybean farmers who've been screwed over because of the tariffs. Now, apparently China has promised to then buy soybeans again, but not to the tune that they were. Anyway, the farmers are getting hammered every which way at the moment. And those SNAP benefits being turned off could well have, it could be much more serious than just, and it's serious enough, you know, some of your population not having access to food. You know, it's a commercial sector and it's a farming sector. And then there's the PR, they're the optics of, at the time where SNAP benefits are just about to run out, there was an incredibly controversial, opulent, roaring 20s Gatsby party in the White House that cost however many millions of dollars to put together. And it was really opulent. You've got pictures of Donald Trump at his table with all sorts of people in masks. These are the richest in society, and people are not happy about this. Dances at Trump's Halloween party as people begin losing food stamps under his administration, as food stamps run out for 42 million people. Trump held a Great Gatsby themed Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago. The Great Gatsby's critique of the glamour and the moral decay of the jazz age, defined by immense wealth and social stratification, reminds us Trump does not care about you. Vote for someone who does, is what this source says. And you just got so much of this going on, women dancing for Trump's Mar-a-Lago guests. And yeah, just huge amounts of opulence here. So many images coming out from here, which would leave a very sour taste in your mouth if you were just about to lose your food benefits. Oh, you can't afford food benefits for us, but you can afford to pay for this, right? Okay. I think it is very poorly timed. And, you know, if the Democrats did something like this, Fox News would have gone absolutely insane. But no, you know, it's just complete silence from Fox News, because they actually don't care about holding anyone to account in the Republican Party. And they don't care really about reporting news at all. They are just a propaganda mouthpiece. Now, talking about propaganda, this is quite incredible, honestly incredible. So these are all images from the Department of Labor's new social media campaign. I don't know if you notice what's going on here, but this very much looks like white man, America first. I don't know. Mehdi Hassan says the Trump government social media accounts are run by far white nationalists. It's almost undeniable. They're not hiding it from anyone who has eyes, a brain, or any understanding of the 20th century history. Okay, so this is really going back to that kind of era, 1930s America first, which itself was an isolationist, somewhat Hitler-aligned, Charles Lindbergh movement. They were saying, we should keep out of holding Hitler to account, leave that to Britain and Europe to sort out. It's not our problem, blah, blah, blah. We should, and it was very much appeasement. We should do, peace with Hitler, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason I use that, well, we're going to be talking about sort of ICE and Stephen Miller, but I just think little indicators like this are worthy of note. And it's a good segue into this. So this is Stephen Miller.
Let me just say, Mr. President, that this country was going to die without you. This country was going to actually die without you. That's what we were facing in 2024. We've been invaded for 4 years. Our communities were sinking. Our public safety had gone to zero. Cartels were running entire communities. Sex trafficking, child trafficking, labor trafficking was out of control. Overdoses were out of control. The cartel.
Now, while there's issues with fentanyl, et cetera, I mean, the numbers on crime have been going down. You know, you compare crime now to previously to the 1990s, you'll see a stark difference. And actually, Fraser Nelson, indeed, who's a right-wing commentator, has just had to come out in the UK because there was a stabbing on a train in the UK, and everyone's going, "Oh, this should be a national emergency. Crime is terrible. You can't get on a train. It's not safe anymore. You can't go and walk your dog." And even Fraser Nelson had to come out and say, what is going on in people's perceptions due to social media, or in this case, due to Stephen Miller, is shocking, because the reality is crime in many areas and for many people is going down, and that there's a real challenge for many societies to try and marry up perception to reality.
Cartels were claiming more and more territory. City services were buckling. This was a country on the verge of dying, and you alone saved it. And when you stepped forward.
So the idea that, you know, make America great again, which means it's crap now type thing. So it was terrible when Biden was in charge, and it was buckling, and it was just about to die. It was on the verge of dying, but you saved it. You saved it, Trump. And of course, that is just abject nonsense. Here is Stephen Miller again.
Well, we need to reassure a couple points to all ICE officers. You have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
So Stephen Miller here is saying that now ICE officers have immunity, so they can do what they like. And by the way, the recruitment process for ICE is pretty dubious, and they don't appear to be getting decent training, and they are collecting all sorts of ne'er-do-wells from the fringes of society and allowing them to join ICE, you know, white supremacists and people who have an axe to grind. All sorts of people are joining ICE, and then they have immunity to go and just do what they want to randos on the street and to people with different color skin. And it is so disheartening to hear Stephen Miller say, well, sod's due process, you can just do what you like, you have immunity. DOJ is giving you immunity. And then you start looking at some of these adverts that are now bringing out. So this is a nice join.ice.gov. Destroy the flood. So now you're seeing human beings, migrants as a flood. You're dehumanizing, destroy the flood. Join ICE. Calling human people the flood is fascist ideology. It's abhorrent that Microsoft allows this. So I don't know what the reference to Microsoft is. Maybe someone can furnish me with that information. Yeah, Homeland Security finishing this fight. It's like a war. They're a flood, and we need you guys to come and join us. By the way, you'll have full immunity. You can act with impunity, and that appears to be what is happening. So this is insane. I know some people have called into question what exactly is going on here, and tried to defend ICE with this one, but I think it's fairly plain, certainly as far as I can see, that this is completely dodgy. Chris Murphy, Senator from Connecticut, says this is insane. How can any Republican stand by and endorse this? I never ever thought I would see this in America in my lifetime. So this is an ICE car. The claim, take it with a pinch of salt, the claim is ICE agents just snatched a journalist and were speeding away when they hit a woman's vehicle that was going to work and doing nothing wrong. They almost left the scene after slamming into her, but then snatched her out of the car at gunpoint and took her with them. Some are claiming that the black car was trying to stop ICE from doing their job, but it doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah! Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! Look, hey, watch out with that weapon! That weapon! Yo, watch out! What's wrong with you? You hit it! You hit her! Yo!
All sorts of weapons there, including assault weapons.
You hit her!
Smashed into that
You
black
guys
car.
hit her! You guys hit her! What's wrong with y'all? Y'all bust a whole U-turn in the middle of the street! Y'all hit her!
So anyway, I could carry on showing you how they get her out, get her onto the floor here.
You guys hit her! How you...
So these guys just smash into her car, then get out their car with all sorts of guns, grab her out the car, put her to the ground, and then take her off. And when you hear Stephen Miller saying, you guys can act with impunity, what you are seeing here are ICE agents acting with impunity and under some form of legal immunity. It is incredibly distressing, I think. So here, ICE repeatedly rammed into and disabled a truck driven by a community volunteer. Then they arrested the US citizen. He was first rushed to hospital and then locked up in a downtown LA detention center. Leo Martinez was targeted by agents as a well-known volunteer with VC Defensa, an organization that legally films immigration enforcement efforts. An ICE statement claims that Leo Martinez caused the accident, but the only video currently made public clearly shows the ICE agents crashing into his car first. The incident occurred in the South A Street in Oxnard, California. So here we have the claim that, you know, okay, the guy is filming ICE, so he's trying to hold them to account, which is legal. There's nothing wrong with this, but ICE don't like it. And of course, they now have immunity, it appears, and they crash into him and then make up a lie about what actually happened.
Against immigration agents after an incident in Oxnard. And take a look at this fairly wild video posted on Instagram. We have unconfirmed reports that a Homeland Security vehicle rammed this pickup before taking a person into custody. Oxnard PD telling us that they got a call from DHS claiming that their vehicle had been rammed. They confirmed DHS took someone into.
So DHS claimed that their vehicle been rammed, and then this vehicle clearly has not been rammed. It rams into the victim's
custody,
vehicle.
But they don't know who. A crowd apparently quickly gathered. Police sent in officers for crowd control. That crowd eventually dispersed.
Just absolutely incredible. And then you see Mehdi Hassan here saying this is a scene not from Fallujah or Bagram, but a major American city. He says abolish ICE. This is Chicago. I'm just going to refresh this, but it is pretty incredible visually. I mean, honestly, just look, you know, this is a war zone just in Chicago. That absolutely astonishing behavior. Just incredible. And then they're releasing tear gas, just throwing tear gas at these people. Just honestly, it beggars belief. And then we have this. So somebody's saying, this is actually huge. A federal judge has just issued a restraining order barring DHS, Department for Homeland Security, from using riot control weapons on members of the press, protesters, or religious practitioners who aren't posing an immediate threat to anyone's safety. In plain English, ICE agents can no longer walk up to people filming and spray chemical irritants. We've just seen them throw some tear gas into crowds there. They can no longer spray chemical irritants directly into the faces like they did in this video, which should have been obvious, but it's exactly what's been happening. So we've got a video here I'm going to show you of someone getting stuff sprayed into their face. So as you saw, that guy just walked up, started spraying stuff in the face. We saw that also with the frog in Portland, spraying it into the ventilation bit of the suit. We saw also others. A woman had stuff sprayed directly into her face as well. This stuff happens far too often. And then like this kind of immunity.
You are watching as
well,
Broadview police respond to a 911 call, claiming someone was tampering with a gate at the ICE detention.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I don't know whether this has anything to do with immunity or just you make up your own mind about what's going on here, but this is being reported by CBS and the local police in Chicago, where the police are claiming, so this isn't like leftist agitators, the police are claiming that ICE are making bogus 911 calls and filing false police reports so that, listen to the news piece.
As Broadview police respond to a 911 call, claiming someone was tampering with a gate at the ICE detention facility there. Body camera footage obtained by the CBS News Chicago investigators shows several Broadview police officers respond to an alleged Homeland Security threat. The gate in question is where ICE takes detained immigrants for processing.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
How are you?
Good. We got a call of subjects trying to climb over the fence or something.
No, not since we've been here.
But when police arrive, all they find is two people and a camera. Our CBS photographer filming the exterior of the building with a CBS security guard by his side.
Okay, you guys didn't tamper with any of the...
No, man. The 911 call claiming someone was tampering with the gate came from an ICE agent. According to this incident report, an ICE agent called police for help.
But he can't go and try to force his way into that door.
Okay, so the guy in the
He
booth?
just says no, the guy just recording. Camera.
Do you believe that that was a false call?
I do.
Again, it was just our CBS photographer filming the exterior of the building.
In your mind, bogus. Yes. It's disturbing. It's ridiculous.
Broadview Police Chief Thomas Mills says this is just one of several questionable 911 calls his police department has received from ICE at this facility recently. This same detention center has become the site of at least 3 other incidents involving federal agents who are accused of hitting people with cars, shooting projectiles, and using chemical agents on journalists, including a CBS reporter last Sunday.
And that's your using chemical irritants on journalists. Just honestly, what is going on? And then leaving that sort of topic, you go to this, and I saw this. This is the White House, right? Power to the players. Donald Trump dressed up as a Halo computer game kind of character. And you're thinking, what are you doing? As Polling USA here says, I can't take how damned cringe this administration is anymore. I was thinking, what are you doing? Putting out pictures of Donald Trump dressed as a Halo warrior, and then it all made a bit of sense. So the guy who composed the Halo soundtrack, the main theme, is running for Congress and talking about destroying the flood. What a timeline. So the guy that created the Halo soundtrack is now running for Congress in order to defeat illegal immigration. That's the flood. And so that's why Donald Trump is dressed up as it's just, oh my goodness. Right. Then we have Donald Trump going to town yet again on late night television hosts. This time he's going for Seth Meyers. I've got a lot of time for Seth Meyers. I really, really like Seth Meyers. Chris Murphy, again, Senator for Connecticut, says you need to understand that he actually believes it is illegal to criticize him. Trump, this is why, because Trump believes he, not the people, decides the law. This is why we're in the middle of, not on the verge of, a totalitarian takeover. Donald Trump says on Truth Social, Seth Meyers of NBC may be the least talented person to perform live in the history of television. In fact, he may be the worst to perform live or otherwise. I watched his show the other night for the first time in years. In it, he talked endlessly about electric catapults on aircraft carriers, which I complain about as not being as good as much as less expensive steam catapults. On and on he went, a truly deranged lunatic. Why does NBC waste its time and money on a guy like this? All caps, no talent, no ratings, 100% anti-Trump, which is probably illegal. So sorry, if you are against Trump and you say something on television, that is illegal. Like, You have a man advocating for outright authoritarian totalitarianism. And this is being facilitated by rank and file Republicans who are not standing up against this. This is absolutely shocking. Honestly, he's telling you himself in plain daylight. Now, he's knocked down the East Wing. He's built, or he's trying to build this new big ballroom. He wants to build the Arc to Trump, as he's got in his hand there. And what has happened? Well, the White House has just, or Trump has just fired all 6 members of the Commission on Fine Arts. So this is an independent federal agency that should be reviewing Trump's construction projects, including a planned arch in Washington. They've been fired. One presumes because they are like, what are you doing? This is nuts. What do you mean you've knocked down the East Wing and you're going to put a 999-person ballroom there? No. So Trump fires them. There you go. There's no held to account anymore. Trump just does what he likes. What else has he done? It's sort of crazy that the entire industry that powers 7% of the country's electricity and employs 370,000 people is being ended because the president thinks it doesn't work if the sun doesn't come out. The US moves to cancel one of the world's largest solar farms. Trump administration scraps the approval for a 6.2 gigawatt Nevada project. Why China built 162 square miles of solar panels on the world's highest plateau. Lots of people are complaining that, I mean, this is a time when solar is now immensely cheap, right? If you go and look at the Ember report on global energy, like solar and wind are hugely important. And Trump, because he's lobbied by the fossil fuels industry and doesn't understand how energy works and how you need an energy mix and how even base load isn't as coherent an idea as it used to be. This is his approach, cancelling solar farms and wind farms. Meanwhile, China has gone nuts. China is embracing technology and net zero tech at that. Who is going to be on the right side of the future? On the right side of history, on the right side of the future? It's not going to be Trump. And, you know, Obama had this right back in his government where he was in his tenure, when he was saying the US needs to be at the forefront, need to be the leader in green tech. And he wasn't saying that from some kind of environmental point of view, but from an economic point of view. If you get left behind, then you will lose economically. Obama understood that. Trump doesn't understand that because he's being lobbied. Okay, so talking about economics then again, the top 1% now owns more than $54 trillion in wealth. That's 468 times more than the bottom 50%. One man, Elon Musk, owns more than the bottom half combined. This is what I mean when I talk about oligarchy, says Bernie Sanders. So the growth in real wealth inequality since 1976. 1976 is back here. That's a year I was born. Now look at it. Absolutely staggering. And yet the green line at the bottom is the bottom 50%. And their wealth, pretty much the same as it was in 1976. Top 1%, top 0.1%, top 0.01%. Absolutely staggering statistics there. But and all part of this kind of rich people making money is Donald Trump making money.
There's such rampant
is Chris Van Hollen, a senator.
Corruption in the Trump administration with all their deals with the UAE, where the UAE, you know, puts $2 billion into the Trump family crypto.
Yes.
Stable coin, and then the U.S. transfers very high-end sensitive AI and chips technology to the UAE. You know, so all of our foreign policy has been corrupted through this administration. There's such.
I would argue that's the same with Russia and Ukraine, where he just wants to make money out of dealings with Russia, and Ukraine is, you know, thrown under the bus. Shocking. And then we have Elon Musk getting $2 billion for Trump's absurd Golden Dome project, straight up milking the taxpayers, says Tennessee Holler. Elon Musk SpaceX set to win $2 billion Pentagon satellite deal. Funding would support the development of satellites for President Trump's Golden Dome project, or, as I like to call it, paying my mates $2 billion. Right. I think I might leave that for another video. I was going to talk about Mamdani. I might do a separate Mamdani video. I will leave you on this, though. The whole RFK Jr., when he came along and he's like, I know what causes autism. It's Tylenol, which is paracetamol to you and I, if you're European. Then it turns out that Tylenol are going to sue over this. And now he's coming out, and who knew he'd come out and say, no, yeah, maybe it's not what caused, not 100%, not too sure. Maybe it's not what causes autism.
The causative association with between Tylenol given in pregnancy and the perinatal periods is not sufficient to say it definitely caused autism. But
so now he's saying that it's not sufficient to say it definitely causes autism, which is a bit of a change of tune.
It is very suggestive.
But it's very suggestive. Okay, very suggestive. Oh, that's a lot softer now. Very suggestive. Let's see how that stands up in a court of law, shall we, RFK?
Suggestive in animal studies and core blood studies and observational studies from nation to nation. And so there should be a cautious approach to it. And that's why our message to patients, to mothers, to people who are pregnant, and to the mothers of young children is consult your physician. And we have asked physicians to minimize the use to when it's absolutely necessary.
So after fear-mongering, now he's not so sure. Anyway, that's enough for me for today on the subject of American politics. It is endlessly fascinating in the same way that it's fascinating to watch a horrific car crash. No, it's not fascinating, but it's compulsive viewing to rubberneck and watch that car crash as you drive past it and slow down traffic. It's really annoying, but something draws your attention to it. That's present day American politics as far as I'm concerned. It is compulsive viewing, but I'm afraid it looks like everything's on the edge of a catastrophe, if not already there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'd very much appreciate that. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.